Good evening, everyone. This is Joanne Nodal. I'm president of the Brazoria County Master Gardeners Association, and we're here this evening to speak about good bugs and bad bugs. We have a presentation today from Sheila Pierce, and Sheila is completing her advanced training in entomology in the Texas Master Gardener Program. And if you want to learn more about the Brazoria County Master Gardener Program, you can find us on Facebook, or you can go to our website by Googling Brazoria County Master Gardeners. There's a lot of great information on horticulture and gardening facts that pertain to gardening, particularly in Brazoria County. And there's information on the website about how you can become a master gardener and join our program. All right, I'm going to hand it over to Sheila Pierce, and we're going to talk about bugs. Sheila, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. If you hear something in the background, it's my dog. He's pushing the doorbell, so I apologize for him. Has anybody ever thought about when you go out in your garden and you find a bug out there? Have you ever thought about what that bug is there for, or possibly what it might be eating on or anything like that? So sometimes bugs are grouped into, you can switch it to the next one, Joanne. Do you hear me? Joanne?
I'm on the good bugs, bad bugs
Yeah,
slide. You want to go to the next slide?
You can move it one more. Okay. So some insects are grouped by whether they are a beneficial bug, whether they're a good bug, a pest, or a bad bug. So a ladybug, for example, eating an aphid is a beneficial because we don't want the aphids, and a ladybug that is overwintering in your house is considered a pest, just like a termite that breaks down a fallen tree in the forest is considered a beneficial bug, but a termite that's in your house is not very beneficial at all. So the circumstances of the situation determine whether it's a pest or not. This evening, we're going to discuss 3 categories of beneficial insects. You can move to the next one. We're going to discuss parasitoids, which are parasitic insects that will lay their eggs in or on a harmful bug, and the larvae will feed on the host insects. We'll talk about predators, which are predaceous insects that get rid of unwanted pests by eating them. They can be prey specific. They can feed on one or a few types of prey. They can be generalists, feeding on whatever they happen to capture. And we're going to discuss decomposers, that they break down dead plant and animal matter by recycling the nutrients back into the soil for other organisms to use. Okay, next one. So 2 of the parasitoids that we will talk about tonight one is the trichogramma wasp. The other one is the ichneumon wasp. Next. So the trichogramma wasp is a very important pest and is a very important insect in pest management. They are minute, almost microscopic, about 0.5 to 1 millimeter long. They develop through 4 life stages: egg, larvae, pupa, and adult. They lay one or more eggs in a recently laid egg of its hosts. After hatching, the wasp larvae will feed inside the host embryo. Now on this diagram here, you can see the adult corn borer moth, and she will lay her eggs. Then the larvae will overwinter in this picture, maize stubble. And then in the beginning of June, the pupa will develop, and then by mid to end of June, the adult moth will come out. But with the trichogramma wasp, if you introduce this wasp to the eggs of the corn borer, they will parasitize the egg, and then the development of the corn borer is stopped. And the females lay around 100 eggs. So each trichogramma female can parasitize about 100 eggs. Each egg to adult development is about 7 to 14 days during the growing season. Trichogramma have multiple generations per year, and they naturally occur in field and tree crops, gardens, and landscapes, wherever eggs of their host insects can be found. So how a female will, go back one more. So the female, how she will find her eggs, how she hunts for them, is she first locates the food source. Next, she begins searching surrounding areas with her antennae because she detects the vibration of made by the host prey when it's feeding. And once she finds it, she'll lay her eggs on it or in it or near the freshly laid eggs. Okay, now you can go. So the ichneumon wasp range from less than 1/8 of an inch to almost 5 inches, including its ovipositor. Now, an ovipositor looks like a stinger, but it's not a stinger. It's actually, it functions as a stinger, but it's actually for laying eggs. The female ichneumon may sport a long tail appendage, and it can be up to 3 inches long. The ichneumons are parasitic as larvae in the caterpillar of moths and butterflies or in sawfly larvae. Depending on the species, there may be 1 to 10 generations produced annually. Adults feed on body juices of the host, and the larvae feed on the immature stages such as larvae and pupa of the butterflies and moths, beetles, flies, sawflies, and other wasps. You can do the next one. I'm going to pause just 1 second. Come on. Go. Get. I'm sorry. My husband left one of the dogs inside and didn't take the other. Anyway. So, predators. You can go to the next one. So, lady beetles are the largest number, or the largest order by number of the Coleoptera. They have 2 pairs of wings. The front wing is called the elytra, and it is a thick and hard shell-like that lays over the abdomen. The hind wings are membranous and are folded under the front wings when it's at rest. So I know if you've seen a ladybug fly away, it looks like they have the 2 hard wings, and then when it flies away, it's got all of a sudden 2 more wings. So it does have 4 wings total. The immatures can have 6 legs, or they can be legless, almost maggot-like, and they're generally called grubs. Some feed on living plants, some will feed on, some are predaceous, some are scavengers, others bore in wood. But lady beetles or ladybugs are probably our most famous, including the June beetle and the cotton wool beetle. Ladybugs are primarily aphid predators. You can move to the next slide. The larvae is soft body gray with orange markings, and they're covered with rows of raised black spots. Other commonly occurring lady beetles is called the twice-stabbed lady beetle. They're all black except for 2 red spots on the elytra. Adult beetles are dull orange on the sides with a black V on the wing covers. The larvae of this species feeds on aphids, mites, and it has a wax filament that it secretes on their bodies, which make them look much like mealybugs. Fed female adults lay eggs in clusters or singly near infestations of aphids or other pests. The larvae hatch from the eggs and they develop through several molts or instars until they pupate. A molt is kind of like if you were to think of how a snake sheds its skin. And so it's basically like that. When an instar is when they shed their outer and then they develop and they get bigger. It takes from egg to adult takes about 2 to 3 weeks. On occasion, the adult ladybug will feed on nectar, pollen, and honeydew. The adult will disperse and then seek to find other food and other reproduction sites. Their prey is aphids, whiteflies, Colorado potato beetles, and you can attract them by planting dill, dandelion, fernleaf yellow, or basket of gold plants. They're attracted to lights at night. You can move to the next one. So the lacewing. So I know y'all have all seen these somewhere, maybe under a flip chair or something. I know I've seen them everywhere around my property, but these are the eggs that the lacewing female will lay. She lays her eggs in spindles like this. Sometimes she'll lay them singly, sometimes she'll lay them in clusters like this. Now, this particular insect is so predaceous that she cannot lay her eggs in clusters without the spindle because they would eat each other. As soon as they would hatch, they would just start eating each other. The females have short jaws and bite effectively. The immatures have chewing mouth parts, but some of the immatures' mouth parts are modified for grasping and sucking. The adult green lacewings can be found throughout the year. They're our most familiar and valued insect because they're so insatiable, especially in the larvae stage. They're insatiable. Some larvae will pile on dead carcass or dry carcass on top of their backs, and they will disguise themselves with other kinds of debris against the ants because the ants vigorously protect the aphids because they, in exchange for the aphids' honeydew. So I think it's kind of interesting how the ants want the honeydew, the lacewing wants or the larvae of the lacewing wants the aphids. The mated females will, like I said, lay their eggs in groups. White eggs are laid about a quarter-inch slender stalk to keep their young larvae from eating each other after they hatch. The red-lipped green lacewing adults can be found throughout the year in central Texas, but they're not most abundant in the fall. But they are most abundant in the fall. They're more abundant in the spring, and in the fall, their bodies become a reddish brown as they prepare to overwinter. The aphid lions, as the larvae are called, are extremely carnivorous and predaceous. They will feed on soft-bodied insects such as mites, including thrips, mealybugs, immature whiteflies, and small caterpillars. They can consume over 200 aphids per week. Now you can move to the next one. Should have moved to that one, but we didn't. You can see that this is the red-lipped green lacewing. You can almost see her red little lips there. You can move to the next one. So predator wasps. In particular, the cicada killer. So you sometimes you'll hear cicadas at night, but if you hear one screeching, and it's deviating from their normal monotonous buzz, they're often being attacked by giant wasps. Nests of these cicada killers are excavated in the soil. Their tunnels usually branch and terminate into cells with an average of nearly 16 cells per nest. So when you go out in your garden and you see a little hole that looks like a small rodent dug it, it could possibly be a cicada killer. They are rather large wasps. They reach up to 1.5 inches in length. There's I can't say this word. Spephid wasps include digger wasps, sand wasps, and mud daubers. Now the tarantula hawk, the picture right there in the middle, they feed on tarantulas. They will sting a tarantula and drag it back to its burrow, and they will feed their immatures tarantulas. These wasps will spend their winter in larval or pupal stage. The adults will emerge in the summer and feed and mate and produce new nesting burrows. The female provisions her cells with one or more paralyzed cicadas with an egg, that is deposited. She deposits the egg and then seals it up and then abandons it. The larvae hatch and develop through several molts. They will spindle a brown case that measures about 1.25 inch long, and they produce maybe one generation per year. They like sandy areas. They will dig their burrow about 6 inches deep and then tunnel and dig it another 6 more inches. The females are solitary. They provision their own nest. If sometimes they appear to be nesting in a common area. The cicada killers are active most in July and August, which coincides with the appearance of the cicadas. The larvae feed primarily on cicadas, and the adults will feed on flower nectar. The females you can go to the next one. The females are capable of stinging, but they're rarely aggressive towards man and animals. The males are incapable of stinging, but they can be more aggressive. So I say just stay away from all of them. And on this picture here, you can see that bottom one is the cicada killer. And you can see how much bigger he is, actual size of this. These are all solitary wasps. And I can't pronounce half those names, so you can move to the next one. Okay, we did that one. You can go to the next one. Mud daubers. The one on the far right is the yellow and black, is the black and yellow mud dauber. And this one in the middle is like the iridescent blue mud dauber. Adult mud daubers are about 3/4 inch to an inch long, and they vary in color by the species from dull black to black to black with yellow markings or iridescent blue black. They're best identified by their long, narrow waists between their thorax and their abdomen, called a petiole. In the next one. Mud daubers are solitary wasps, and nests, they construct their nest and provision them by individual mated females, or sometimes their nest is called a brood chamber. The eggs are laid singly on host in the cells of the mud nest, and it's provisioned with food and sealed off and abandoned. The larvae can grow up to about 1 inch. Now, these 3 pictures that I have on here, I actually took last Saturday at a gun range, and This one in the center, I'm going to say that it's the globular, the nest that the black and yellow mud daubers make. And then on the left, you can see the different cells that I don't believe that can't be a pipe organ mud dauber, because if you look up the pipe organ mud dauber nests, they're actually really long, and they're defined. They're more defined than these cells on the left. Now, the one on the right, that was very large. I honestly don't know if that's a pipe organ one or not. You can't really tell because of what the pipe organ mud daubers that I saw are much better defined than this one. So I'm just going to put a question mark on that one. The adults are seen in wet spots, and just so happened that where I took these pictures, there was a big pond that had a bunch of brush overgrown around it. So there was water for them to make their mud nest. The iridescent blue mud dauber will take over nests of the black and yellow mud dauber and will provision its nest mostly with black widow spiders. You can move to the next one. So decomposers, we're going to discuss soldier flies and isopods. Does anybody have any questions about what we've talked about so far? Joanne?
No questions yet?
Okay. So
Lots of viewers, no questions.
Okay. Lots of what?
Several, we have a good group viewing it.
Okay. Soldier flies. They are out of the order Diptera. They are usually winged, but only have one pair of wings with a few veins. You can move to the next slide. The immatures are known as maggots. Some are internal parasites of mammals. Larvae may be thin and elongated, or thin and wide, or elaborately ornamented. This order includes forms of parasitic predaceous and others that live on either living or dead plant or animal material. Some members cause a great amount of damage to the crops. This is one of the most important orders from the standpoint of human health, because this species carries diseases. The flies can be very small to over 1 inch in length. You can move to the next one. So the adult flies are about 5/8 of an inch with black smoky black wings. The wings are held over their back when they're at rest. The larvae are a torpedo shape and flattened with skin appearing firm and tough. The back of the body the back of the body is blunt and it bears breathing spores called spiracles. The larvae will hatch from eggs and develop through several stages before pupating inside of the last larval skin. The larvae mostly feed on decomposing organic matter and mold and algae. Larvae also have been extracted from carrion, which is meat. And there are reports that the larvae have been seen accidentally swallowed with contaminated food, causing an infestation within the body. Soldier flies are harmless to people. They serve a beneficial role. You can move to the next one. They serve a beneficial role in helping decompose garbage and filth. If you have a poorly maintained compost pile or wet or spilled grain or other decaying vegetable material, those it may provide a breeding site for them. So the best control to get over these soldier flies is to find out where their breeding source is. The larvae are harmless and you can pick them up by hand or with a tissue and just throw them away. if these flies become too numerous, you can use insect spray containing pyrethrin to control them. You can move to the next one. Roly-polies. I don't know how many of y'all picked these up when you were a kid, but I used to pick them up and watch them roll. They're kind of funny, but they also carry diseases. So the sow bug, if you look at that bottom one on the picture, is a sow bug. It has a pair of tail-like structures at the back end of its body, whereas the pill bugs do not have this structure, and they can roll into tight balls. They are terrestrial crustaceans, and they are more closely related to lobsters and shrimp and crayfish, and they even have gills. You can move to the next one. So the picture on the left is scud. That is an aquatic type of Isoptera. The females will lay their eggs in a pouch underneath their body. The eggs hatch. When the eggs hatch, they resemble adults, only smaller, and they can remain in the pouch for up to 2 months after hatching. Development of from development to adult is about a year. They breed mainly in the spring, and they may live up to 3 years. And they can produce 3 broods annually. They spend most of their bright daylight hours in damp, dark habitats, and at night they will venture out and feed on decomposing organic matter, mulch, grass clippings, and they'll also feed on the tender foliage of your plants that you put in your garden, the stems and roots of your garden, vegetable transplants, seedlings, and stuff. They will rasp the outer side of a cucumber, and they will cause the fruit to be deformed and blemished. So I wouldn't pick these up personally, being that they like to crawl on all that nasty stuff. So some people, you can move to the next slide. Some people will go out and buy bugs. These are 3 different websites that you can look up. I've looked them up. They're still there. You can buy your bugs and you can release them into your yard, or you can take the more inexpensive and easier approach, and you can create a habitat throughout your garden or your landscape, and that will bring beneficial insects to your yard all year long. You can move to the next one. The main way to do this is to plant flowers that will provide food in the form of pollen or nectar for the adults. Tiny flowers found on herbs provide the best pollen and nectar for beneficial insects, like the flowers of a small daisy will. The smaller the flower size, the smaller the beneficial bug. The larger the flower size, the larger the beneficial bug. So, for example, in the carrot family, if you plant things that are in the carrot family, they will attract small parasitic wasps, such as caraway, coriander, dill, fennel, bishop's flower. If you were to plant something in the aster family, it'll attract a larger predator, such as lady beetles and soldier beetles. These plants can be blanket flower, cone flower, coreopsis, cosmos, or yarrow. My yarrow are actually starting to go to bloom right now. You can go to the next page. So here's a list of some herbs that have flowers that are known to attract beneficial. We've mentioned some of them: dill, cilantro. If you let the cilantro go to bloom, this picture is a picture of dill, Queen Anne's lace, basil, fennel, yarrow, garlic chives. You can plant. There are three different options if you want to be creative with your garden. You can plant a row within your garden, or you can plant a border around your garden. I actually like the idea of growing or planting an island in the middle, in the center of the garden, and you can raise it up some and plant some of these flowering herbs and flowers, and they will attract your beneficials. So if you have a problem with aphids right now, plant some dill around your plants that are having a hard time with all the aphids, and attracts your lady beetles, because the lady beetles like the dill. The lady beetles like the dill. And okay, I just twisted what else I was going to say. Does anyone have any questions about that?
No, but I thought it was really interesting. I'm thinking about several of the herbs like that I have in my garden, my kitchen garden. The society garlic, it sounds like it has the right type of bloom, but probably the best is dill, which you mentioned. I'm trying to think of things in the spring kitchen garden. Basil, fennel, yarrow, and
It's
chives.
too,
Those are probably the key spring herbs, spring and summer herbs, huh?
yeah, it's too warm right now for cilantro. Well, I guess you could plant it and let it bolt. And if you let it bolt, then you'll have your flowers for your beneficials.
Oh, that's true. That's true. And a lot of us have the blue African basil. Um, it's a perennial. It should bloom all summer, so that'll be perfect.
I think I got one of those at the plant sale, and I planted it and something ate it up. It's gone. It's not even there anymore.
Oh no. We'll have to grow you another one.
I know, I guess so. I got one basil plant that's surviving, and the rest of them that are in the garden are probably 4 years old. They just keep resprouting, and I just keep letting them.
That's the lovely thing about basil.
Okay, you
All
can move
right.
to the next one. Okay, so the bad bugs. These are the bugs we don't want. You can go to the next one. And the stink bug. And I've circled some. The one at the top in the is the, I don't even know if I wrote that one down. I think that's the brown. And then the harlequin bug, that one is in our area, and the southern green stink bug, those are in our area. These guys are plant feeders. They have well-developed scent glands, and if anybody's ever messed with one, they know that they don't have a pleasant odor when they're handled. You can go to the next one. The adults are about 1/2 to 3/4 inches in length. The immature stages have a distinctive pattern of whitest spots on the abdominal segment. Nymphal stages are found together in high numbers, and eggs are laid in clusters. And they appear as a row of small barrels and around suitable food sources. The egg to adult requires about 35 days, but it'll vary by the temperature. And they produce about 5 generations a year, appearing in the fall before adults overwinter. There's different types of species, like I said, that are common around here in Texas. The brown stink bug breeds on a great variety of plants. There are occasionally pests on crops, and they are sometimes attracted to lights at night. And then the harlequin stink bug is, you can see down there at the bottom right of the screen. The damage that they do to young green fruit, the cell at the side of the feeding are killed by toxic saliva that is injected by the bugs into the plant. The fruit stops expanding, and around the dead cells, they continue to expand by increasing the water content. So the deformed fruit They have dimples, and they call those dimples, or the damage is called cat facing. You can go to the next one. Aphids. I do not like aphids. The Homoptera may or may not have wings. The wings are 4 in number and are held roof-like over the body and are usually membranous. I cannot say that word, membranous. But aphids may or may not have wings and are small. Scale insects are wingless. They live on branches, roots, and leaves and move around little after beginning to feed. The body is covered with a hard, waxy covering. Mealybugs are usually wingless, and this is of the order Homoptera. The mealybugs are whitish or gray in colored and covered in a waxy substance, and they move slowly. All Homoptera feed on plants. The mouth parts are formed for piercing and sucking, and the beak, they'll have a beak that arises from the hind part of the head. Leafhoppers, aphids, come in many shapes and sizes. Some species of the Homoptera give birth to living young. And if you go to the next one, there should be one of the aphids giving birth to live young. Metamorphosis is generally considered to be gradual because it's modified in whiteflies and some other Homoptera. Most forms are small or maybe even microscopic. The aphid colonies that are minimal or that are tolerable, tolerable damage, you should leave them alone because the beneficial insects that attract them may decrease populations of more troublesome pests, such as caterpillars. The life cycle, they go through a gradual metamorphosis. The mature females produce live young nymphs without mating. The nymphs develop into adults within 6 to 30 days, depending on the temperature, and they also produce live young at a rate of 2 to 3 per day over a 20 to 30 day period. The damage that they do is in 3 ways. They remove the sap by stressing the plant and removing water and nutrients. They will inject a toxic saliva secretion that causes the cells yellowing and reddening, discoloration, and eventually death on infested tissue. And they can transmit plant diseases such as barley yellow dwarf virus and small grains, or maize dwarf mosaic virus and sorghum. You can go to the next one. And here's what I was talking about, a female aphid giving birth to a nymph. Now the bottom left picture are 2 tan mummies. Those are aphids that have been parasitized by a parasitic insect. You can go to the next one.
Hey, Sheila, you said some aphids have wings,
Yes,
but none of the aphids can fly. Is that a correct statement, or am I wrong?
that is correct.
Okay.
Yes. So they have wings, and they're 4 in number, and they don't have the wings to fly to go, but they do have
They're more like
it
body
depends on
covering.
right, yeah. They may or may not have wings.
All right.
So there's different species. Some
Because
have,
I've
some
always
don't.
heard some of the gardeners that have been gardening a long time, they say if you just wash the aphids off your
You can.
flowers, they're
Mhm.
so slow it takes them, they run out of life before they get back to those flowers that you washed them off of. That they're that slow.
Yeah. Yeah. The research that I did, says that some of them have wings. Not all of them, but I will go do more on that since you brought that up, because now I'm interested. I'm really interested in that. But yeah, that's one of the ways to control them. You can get a water bottle with a stream option, and you can shoot them off, or you can get a water hose and with a spray nozzle, and you can shoot them off. I would probably opt for this water bottles just so I don't damage the plant with
Yeah.
like a jet, with like a pressure washer type spray.
Yeah.
You're going to see aphids when your crop is overcrowded or you have poor circulation through your crop, or if you are overwatering your plant, or maybe your plant's just at the end of the season. That's it. That's all you're going to get from that plant. You can use insecticidal soaps. You can use horticultural oils like neem oil. If you want to go to the organic route, heavy water sprays will knock them off, and it may kill some. You can also use, and go to the next page, you can also use a aphid and whitefly yellow sticky trap. It will also collect, the sticky trap will also collect other types of bugs, but you got to give some and you got to take some, right? So it just depends on how bad your garden is full of aphids. Many insecticide products, both organic and synthetic, are available. Just be sure that whatever you choose is labeled to kill aphids, and make sure that you follow the directions on the label whenever you are treating them. But check your leaves and your buds very often. It needs to be checked for aphids on a regular basis because they do come back. Or you could plant heavily. You can plant a bunch of dill in your garden. You can bring those ladybugs in, and then they'll just eat them all. Or the lacewing larvae, and they'll eat them all. Okay, you can go to the next one. The cucumber beetles. They are a major agricultural pest in North America. The adults are about a 1/4 inch long, yellow, green, and black, with a black head and antennae. There are about 12 spots on the wing covers. The larvae are rootworm. They're cream colored, and they're about 3/4 of an inch long when they're fully developed. You can go to the next one. So because of their subterranean nature of their larvae, these insects are hard and they're expensive to control. The adults, beetles, and the larvae have chewing mouth parts. So the larvae will chew along roots, excavating grooves and tunnels. They will the larvae will tunnel directly into the base of the stalk, and it's stunning the plant growth or killing the entire plant. They feed on a variety of plants, including leaves and flowers. One of their favorite things to eat on are apricots and peaches. And if you go to the next picture or the next slide, that is my peach tree last year. And I knew that was a cucumber beetle, and it made no sense why it was on my peach tree. And so last year I had no fruit. I had the fruit the first year, no fruit the second year. This year I have some fruit, but some of them are deformed. And I'm just going to have to get out there and figure out what to do with these cucumber beetles, because the adults will overwinter, and then they become active in the spring. And so eggs hatch in like 5 to 11 days, and they crawl through the soil, and they feed on the roots of corn, sorghum, other hosts. They're a major concern to cantaloupe and cucumber growers because of their ability to spread bacteria that causes bacterial wilt. And the bacteria that causes the wilt can survive in their gut over winter. And then in the spring, whenever these cucumber beetles go about, they spread their bacteria through their feces and contaminated mouth parts. And you can go to the next one. And this is some of the damage that if you see on your plants that they will do. They feed on leaves, other vegetables. They're especially fond of corn, tomatoes, potatoes, and beans, and soft fruits like I said, apricot and peaches. Early season management of these beetles is crucial. You can start monitoring for them when seedlings emerge or after transplanting, and through the fruiting stage of your tree or plant. Are there any questions?
No questions.
Right. Well, that is all I have for y'all this evening.
Sheila, thank you so much. This was, I learned a lot, and I'm sure everybody else did too. This was fascinating. Thank you for taking the time, and everyone have a good evening.
You too. Thank you.